Once upon a time, I did a video where I discussed Finn, Samurai Jack, Zoro, and for unlikely measures, I said somebody else who, at the time of this recording, I did not go back and look at that video, so I cannot remember. If they come back to my head, I will be sure to tell you. But in any case, it was over a TikTok post. And anyways, that's not really the point of what I want to get to today. Ultimately, as you can see the title, we're going to be doing Samurai Jack versus Roronoa or Zoro if they actually clashed. And I think this is a pretty good battle simply because I view these two to be some of the most incredible swordsmen in fiction, just simply because they are not only the most popular, but because of their dedication and hard work to the goal of obtaining their legendary swordsman status. Although Roronoa or Zoro, to be fair, is not at the end of his journey, it could easily at the end of it surpass Samurai Jack. I do think it would be interesting to compare them both right now, and if I do see fit, maybe one day return to this topic. But in any case, let's get into this video right now. If you guys do enjoy, please hit the red subscribe button. Thanks, and let's get into this right now. To start off, I want to go off and say that I will be starting off on Zoro scaling, and then we'll get to Samurai Jack after. Looking at Zoro, he's somebody that has been on the Straw Hats ever since the beginning, and he's been on the crew a long time. Also known by his former epithet of Pirate Hunter after the raid, his new title of the King of Hell is Premier Swordsman of the Straw Hat Pirates and a member of the Monster Trio. Recruited as a mildly notorious bounty hunter, is his Pirate Hunter moniker. He is monstrously powerful who doesn't wield the power of a devil fruit using a unique Zarator sword style. Now, as you got a little baseline knowledge for Zoro, let's get into the overall capabilities of this guy and see what he can really do overall and see if he can really put up a fight here. Now, this will obviously be posting spoilers, so if you are not caught up in the manga, keep that up in mind. Although, I will say this, as far as Wano is concerned, it's all been animated, so there really won't be that many spoilers ultimately, because he doesn't do that much something crazy and like egghead, so to speak. But I mean, I guess if you really want to, just keep that in mind. Zoro has done all types of stuff because, he's a swordsman, and he has haki, and that is where I'm going to start off this discussion. His haki, he has all types. He has observation haki, armament haki, and his conqueror's haki. He also has the advanced conqueror's haki and does know how to wield it, but I will admit not nearly as well as somebody say a Luffy, even though he just recently unlocked his a Wano. When discussing the overall abilities of him though, his armored haki is definitely more of a plus for him. Although, being said, armored haki is very impressive as well. And he's a user of the three-sword style, a sword style he created on his own. And he's been training for a total of 17 years before the series started. And after, he's been training and getting stronger after every island they go to, which is a statement that Zoro himself states. When looking at Zoro, it's very important to keep in mind that his three-sword style is very impressive. He learns the types of different sword moves and techniques that ultimately will allow us to get into his attack potency overall. When looking at his original, or I don't know, basic original attack potency, he can casually one-shot overdose Hyoruzo, and if you don't know who that is, he is a guy who's a fishman who uses like multiple like swords. Casually one-shot that guy. And he was far superior to Monet and easily sliced her ice wall, which took a hot Gatling from Luffy. So this would give him at the very bare minimum island levels of, AP, but let's just keep going. With his Bushuki haki, which is also known as his armor haki, is far stronger than his base, and one-shot Pika with full body haki. And that would make him island level plus in terms of AP, so please keep up. They're going over to go over every level. With strongest attacks or Koryu, his Ida Zazen Seki is this strong, giving him crunch tree levels. And when we look at higher levels, he clashed with base X Drake on several instances alongside X Drake pursued Scratchman Oppo, which would make him even higher, which would put him at multi-continental level plus levels. Then we have possibly moon scaling with his strongest attack with an unnamed eye attack, one shot, and on guard Scratchman Oppo and left him wheezing in pain once he awoke. Alongside Killer stunned base Kaido and left him feeling pain while also denting his skin, albeit for significantly injuring him. However, unlike Killer's attack, Zoro's onigiri was capable of drawing blood. With his Conqueror's haki, he effortlessly deflected a Kafu from Kaido, could briefly counteract the combined force of Cognac, Big Mom, and Hybrid form Kaido's haki, which he believed would have killed Eustace Kid, Law, Killer, and Luffy, although he broke his bones doing so, It used his kick being impressed and heavily implying that he would not have been able to replicate Zoro's feat, which would put him on their level at the time, I guess you could say. Obviously, Luffy will get stronger later on in that battle with Gear 5, but it's very important to keep this in mind. Then we have Moon level plus scaling, and I'll tell you how we get to that, but this is probably cap. I think he, honestly, just go back here, probably in those multi-continental levels. But yeah, sure, we can just range Moon simply because, you know, the Moon in like One Piece is different than the Moon in our world. But with hydrogen infusion, cut no flame-based King vertical through his chest with just one sword, implied to be superior to his full unleashed Emma, as King sensed Emma's full power, and even took a hit from Emma in his hybrid form, yet he was still confident that he could defeat Zoro. Yet began to fear and block Zoro's attacks after being injured by Zoro's Conqueror's infusion. Should be as strong, if not stronger, than his previous Q2, and is far stronger than his normal Baishoko Haki, or when unleashing Emma. Stronger than before, as he is no longer trying to stabilize the rate at which Emma drains his Haki. And of course, when the same suit had taken hits from Marco without any damage and forced Flame on King to dodge and block his attacks, sliced King's Omakaren in half, cut off King's wing, and split his Boso infused sword in half, all for a single Apipo Hyrule G-Con, which would mean that Zoro was even stronger at the end of this battle after unlocking all these attacks. Now, with that being said, like I said, I think Zoro is honestly in those continental level plus ranges of AP. But if you don't, I guess there is possibly Moon in there, but he doesn't scale or have that crazy wing scaling that Luffy has that would get him all the way up to star level. With that being said, though, we can discuss his speed. Alongside Daba, Jamba, Zanji, he blitzed a Path Fist of Blissed Overdose Haizu, who could react to a punch from Gear 2nd Luffy, kept up with Aisho, and strike this fight with Gear 2nd Luffy. This will put him at relative to plus speeds. With eye attacks, completely blitzed Hody Jones, who could react to his techniques, which would make him far faster. Then we could react to Big Mom and Kaido's attacks, occasionally intercepting them, which is faster than Light Plus. Then we have as fast as before, kept up with King in his base and zone forms. With high reaction speed, reacted to attacks from base and Hybrid King with his flame off. And with eye attack speed, Blitz King, which would give him faster than Light Plus speeds. And that's Zoro's speed and attack potency. With that being said, we can now move on to Samurai Jack, as we have discussed what we need to get over for our boy, Roronoa Zoro. When looking at Samurai Jack, he's been on a long journey. Jack, real name unknown, sans the fact it starts with a G, is the primary protagonist of the cartoon series Samurai Jack. He's a Japanese samurai who seeks to end the rule of a demon who took over the planet Aku in Season 5. He lost his sword, but he gained it back and would ultimately defeat Aku. This being said, we can now dive into Samurai Jack's AP and see just how strong the samurai is overall. Looking at Samurai Jack, he has at least large building level. Scaling off his durability, can fight the Ultra Robots, which did the ability to destroy a bunch of stuff, which was a large building. And he's also likely multi-city block level because he gained even stronger than before as time went on and learned more skills and so on and so forth. Samurai Jack within the series was shown to be able to dodge lasers, giving him faster light speeds. He also has many instances where he is shown to just blatantly be much faster. Also, he was able to tank a fall from re-entry. So that's also something you have to keep in mind. Like, that's a very incredible thing to be capable of doing. And not to mention the fact that he was also able to, eventually beat Aku, who was able to somehow get people from space to get on the planet and outranges all of them. Clearly, he had a weakness, though. I mean, he could take advantage of with his sword, but ultimately, he was still able to ultimately defeat him, which is still a very impressive feat overall. And not to mention his ancestral power, which makes him even stronger than that. But ultimately, though, that's pretty much what Samurai Jack's scaling ends. You make an argument that Samurai Jack is even stronger, and you can make an argument that he's arguably like in the moon to planet levels of ranges. Make an argument that he's like, massively faster than light. But I think Samurai Jack is in the faster than light plus ranges, and he's somewhere around continental level because he was able to tank re-entry, which would at least been scaled, and it was just been scaled to be somewhere around the multi-continental levels of AP, because he quite literally was like he just walked it off like it was nothing. And like I said, he constantly fights Aku, who is a being who is probably around the planet to moon level ranges of power, but yet that's kind of not true for his own scaling. because he quite literally just is a character who uses a sword that is literally made to beat Aku. But with all that being said, we can now dive into the actual discussion and see who truly would take this battle. All things to be completely honest here, Samurai Jack and Zoro's scaling are pretty darn close in terms that they both have scaling that would easily give them moon to planet levels of power. But at the same time, they also, well, in Samurai Jack's case, if you scale him to Aku, because he applied to me, would have planet levels of AP. But like I said, this doesn't really add up. Also, you can look at the re-entry feat, and it's a multi-continental level plus feat when scaled. And ultimately, what all that would mean is Samurai Jack is just as strong as Zoro in his highest interpretations. Well, not the highest, but in like just saying like verbatim the ones that I think are valid or make sense, because they would apply to the character themselves and not having a scale up from the character that they can only reach based off nonsense. Like for example, Zoro like being moon level would just be based off how like Kaido's and Yonko, and how Yonko are equal, which would compare to Whitebeard being able to destroy the planet and all that other stuff. Like, and that's just not blatantly clear enough for me to say anything like moon or anything in that range of power. So ultimately, this battle would come down to skills and techniques, which Samurai Jack has trained under every great master in the entire world. And although Zoro does learn a lot of sword techniques and does use a 3-sword style, I do think the 3-sword style will be a tough thing for Samurai Jack to ultimately overcome, especially considering they would be relative in speed and they would be relative in like attack potency at this point, pretty much very blatantly, as I both think that their scaling does end at faster than like plus ranges of speed and multi-continental level plus. So I don't know what that would really do. So it would come down to who I think is more skilled, or better yet, who has the better hacks. And to be brutally honest with you, Zoro's ability to use Haki, along with his observation Haki and his ability to now use advanced Conquerors and Conquerors Haki, I don't know if it's like Samurai Jack could really get over all those humps, or better yet, even stop any of those things from happening. Ultimately though, speaking in that term, Samurai Jack would probably not only have, well, clearly would have more experience, and like I don't think that's really the question here. I think he would have way more experience. I mean, you know what I mean? He's 75 in season 5 because he doesn't age due to Aku's time travel spell. So yeah, keep that in mind. He has like 70 years of experience, so that's ridiculous. And with that being said, and having that advantage, I just don't see a world where like a guy like Samurai Jack who's been doing this for so long would have an experience disadvantage. But Zoro would definitely have an hacks advantage, and I definitely do think his Haki would push him over the edge in terms of that. But Samurai Jack has been trained with all the great masters and fought like, Aku's daughters and beat all of them who are somewhat relative to him in terms of combat. The reason why that matters is because Zoro, in terms of AP and speed, are relative to Samurai Jack. So if that's the case, and he was able to beat the people that were relative to him already, you can make an argument that Samurai Jack would beat Zoro because he's relative. But Samurai Jack has never fought in a poor like Zoro, although his potency and speed isn't all that more impressive than him, and you can just say he has. But even if you don't take any of this into account, I still think Zoro's like Conqueror's Haki maybe would just do it. Now, Samurai Jack, as far as I've seen in show, is the complete opposite of a weak-willed person. So I'm not saying it would work in the sense that it would knock him out. But with the advanced ability, making his attacks, his sword strikes way stronger, and having Enma draining his Haki, getting even stronger from that, I think Zoro would like ultimately win in like a very high diff situation, like barely like living, like when he fought like, the assassin and like Alabasta, whose name for some reason I cannot remember right now. But yeah, I think it would go something like that. Now, if you think Jack wins because of experience, I would not be surprised. He definitely has that by far. And if you think that would play more into like, sword and like sword fighting, whatnot, but I think Zoro's Haki would give him the advantage. Now, I'm not too sure what you guys think, so please leave it in the comments who you think wins. But I hopefully feel like most people would say Zoro probably takes it just because of Haki, but experience is still a very important part to the fight. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video, please sure leave a like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks as always. I can never say this enough, and everybody says enough. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Zoro wins, extreme high diff, and yeah, I'm out.